Humans have always looked up at the night sky. We have wondered what is out there. The stars are like tiny, twinkling dots of light. They seem so far away. For centuries, we could only dream of visiting them. We told stories about traveling to other worlds. We imagined what we might find. These dreams are a big part of what makes us human. We are explorers at heart. We want to see what is over the next hill, or in this case, the next solar system. The universe is vast and full of mysteries. The thought of exploring it is both exciting and a little scary. The biggest problem with traveling to the stars is distance. The distances in space are almost too big to understand. Our closest star, Proxima Centauri, is over 4 light-years away. A light-year is the distance light travels in 1 year. Even our fastest spacecraft would take thousands of years to get there. This is a huge challenge. We live for less than a century. A journey that takes thousands of years is impossible for a single crew. This is where big ideas come into play. We need a way to cheat time. Some suggest building giant generation ships. These would be like floating cities in space. Another idea is to travel close to the speed of light. This would make time slow down for the travelers. But both of these ideas have massive problems. Building a generation ship is a huge technological task. One of the most popular ideas is cryogenic sleep. It is also known as suspended animation or hibernation. The idea is simple. We put the astronauts into a deep sleep. Their bodies would be preserved. Then they would wake up when the ship reaches its destination. It could be the key to unlocking the stars for humanity. Science fiction loves cryogenic sleep. You have probably seen it in countless movies and books. Think about famous films like Alien. The crew of the Nostromo is in a deep cryosleep. In the movie Avatar, the main character travels to the planet Pandora. He spends years in a cryopod during the journey. These stories make space travel seem possible. They show us a future where humanity is spread across the galaxy. Cryosleep is the magic key that opens the door to these amazing adventures. These stories do more than just entertain us. They plant a powerful idea in our minds. We see our heroes step out of their sleep pods. They are ready for action on a new world. It looks so easy, like taking a long nap. The technology always seems to work perfectly. The pods are clean and futuristic. The process is smooth and without any problems. This optimistic view inspires us. It fuels our desire to explore the cosmos. It makes us ask, why can't we do that for real? The movie Passengers explored some of these problems. A character wakes up 90 years too early. He faces a lifetime of loneliness on a giant empty ship. This film shows the darker side of cryosleep. It reminds us that this technology would be very complex. It would not be as simple as pressing a button to go to sleep and another to wake up. So what exactly is cryogenic sleep? The term itself can be a bit confusing. Cryogenic refers to very low temperatures. In real life, cryonics is the practice of freezing a legally dead person. This is not what we mean when we talk about cryosleep for space travel. Freezing a human body causes a lot of damage. Water inside our cells would turn into ice crystals. These crystals are sharp and would shred the cells from the inside out. Instead, when scientists talk about cryogenic sleep for space travel, they usually mean something different. They are talking about a state of induced hibernation or torpor. This is a state where the body's metabolism is slowed down dramatically. Think of animals that hibernate, like bears or squirrels. They lower their body temperature, heart rate, and breathing. This allows them to survive for long periods with very little food. The goal for human space travel would be to create a similar state. Astronauts would be cooled down, but not frozen. By slowing down the body's processes, we could also slow down aging. The astronauts would age very slowly while in this state of torpor. A crew in hibernation would need much less food, water, and oxygen. This would make the spacecraft lighter and cheaper to launch. This idea is more than just a dream. Scientists are actively researching how to induce a hibernation-like state in humans. They are studying animals that naturally hibernate. They are trying to understand the genetic and molecular triggers that control this process. Could we find a way to switch on these same mechanisms in humans? Early research is promising, but also shows how difficult this will be. Hollywood has a very specific idea of what cryogenic sleep looks like. It is almost always clean, sleek, and high-tech. The astronaut hero simply lies down. A glass canopy closes over them, and a gentle hiss of gas sends them off to dreamland. This portrayal is a huge oversimplification. The reality of inducing a hibernation-like state would be far messier. It would not just be a case of breathing in some magic gas. It would likely involve a complex medical procedure. This process would require constant monitoring by medical experts and advanced computer systems. Furthermore, science fiction often confuses true cryogenic freezing with hibernation. If putting someone into cryosleep seems easy in the movies, waking them up is even easier. In reality, waking up would be the most dangerous part of the process. The body would need to be slowly and carefully warmed back to its normal temperature. Even if the physical rewarming is successful, the astronaut wouldn't just jump out of bed. They would need a long and intensive period of physical therapy. The single greatest challenge to achieving cryogenic sleep is our own biology. The human body is a finely tuned machine. This stability, called homeostasis, is fundamental to our survival. Any attempt to push the body into a low-temperature state is met with powerful biological rebellion. The first line of defense our body uses against cold is shivering. This involuntary muscle contraction is designed to generate heat. Beyond shivering, the heart presents an even more dangerous obstacle. The human heart is not designed to function at low temperatures. As the body cools, the heart's natural pacemaker can become unstable. This can lead to irregular heartbeats, which can quickly spiral into fatal cardiac arrest. Animals that hibernate have special adaptations in their heart cells. Humans lack these adaptations. Finally, we must consider the long-term effects on every system in the body. What happens to the immune system after decades of inactivity? How do we prevent bone density loss and muscle atrophy on a scale far beyond anything experienced by astronauts in zero gravity? Our organs, our blood, and our very cells are all optimized for a 37°C world. Pushing them into a century-long stasis is uncharted territory. While the biological challenges are immense, the technical hurdles are just as daunting. Imagine designing a machine that has to work perfectly for hundreds of years. The life support pods would be the most complex and reliable pieces of equipment ever created by humanity. They would need to function flawlessly in the harsh environment of deep space through cosmic radiation, micrometeoroid impacts, and the simple, relentless decay of time. The core function of the pod would be to maintain a perfectly stable environment. It would have to regulate temperature to a fraction of a degree. Redundancy would be the guiding principle of the design. You cannot simply have one cooling pump or one computer. You must have several backups for every critical system. This leads to the need for an advanced artificial intelligence to oversee the entire ship. This AI would act as the ultimate caretaker. Furthermore, the entire system must be powered. A ship traveling for centuries through interstellar space cannot rely on solar panels. It would likely need robotic systems to perform physical maintenance on the pods, replacing failing parts or fixing leaks. The engineering challenge is not just about building a perfect pod, but about building a perfect, self-sustaining, and self-healing spaceship around it. Deep space is not empty. It is filled with a constant shower of high-energy cosmic rays and particles ejected from distant supernovae. Here on Earth, we are protected from this galactic cosmic radiation by our planet's magnetic field and thick atmosphere. But a ship traveling between the stars would have no such protection. For centuries, it would be exposed to the full, unshielded force of this radiation. These high-energy particles can pass through the hull of the spacecraft and through the bodies of the astronauts, breaking apart DNA strands. For a sleeping crew, the problem is even worse. In a state of torpor, the cellular repair mechanisms would be operating in slow motion. This could allow damage to accumulate much more rapidly than in an awake person. The astronauts might survive the journey, only to face a deadly disease upon arrival. Solving this challenge would require revolutionary advances in shielding technology. Traditional shielding would be too heavy to be practical. Scientists are exploring ideas like creating an artificial magnetic field around the ship to deflect charged particles, similar to Earth's magnetosphere. However, generating such a powerful field would require enormous amounts of energy. Without a viable solution to the radiation problem, even the most perfect cryogenic sleep system would be useless. Let us assume we solve all the biological and technical problems. An astronaut enters the pod in the year 2100 and wakes up in 2400. What happens next? The astronaut would be confronted with a form of loneliness so profound that we have no words for it. Everyone they knew and loved back on Earth is long dead. They are, in a very real sense, ghosts who have woken up in a distant future. This profound sense of disconnection would be psychologically devastating. Finally, there's the social dynamic of the crew itself, a small group of people waking up together, completely isolated from the rest of humanity. This small group would be responsible for humanity's first steps into a new solar system. The pressure to succeed would be astronomical. They would have arrived at a new world, a place not designed for human life. They would be strangers in time and strangers in space. The mental fortitude required to not only endure this, but to thrive and carry out a complex mission is perhaps the most demanding requirement of all. Science fiction often skips this part, but in reality, the psychological resilience of the crew may be the ultimate deciding factor in the success or failure of interstellar travel. The greatest challenge may not be physical, but psychological. It would test the limits of human psychological resilience. Beyond the medical and technical hurdles lies a minefield of ethical questions. The development of cryogenic sleep would be one of the most expensive undertakings in human history. The resources required could potentially solve major problems here on Earth. Is it morally justifiable to spend trillions sending a handful of people to the stars when billions are suffering? The selection of the crew itself would be fraught with ethical dilemmas. Who are the right people for such a mission? The decision to send someone on a journey that will last for centuries is a heavy one. It is, for all intents and purposes, a one-way ticket. There is also the question of what happens upon arrival. If the destination planet already has life, what are our responsibilities? Do we have the right to introduce Earth-based organisms into a new ecosystem, potentially destroying it? Finally, the technology itself could create deep divisions back on Earth. If we master suspended animation, it would have applications far beyond space travel. Would this technology be available to everyone, or only to the wealthy and powerful? It could create a new form of inequality. The quest for the stars could inadvertently create a new kind of dystopia on the very planet we are trying to leave. The grand dream of human hibernation hinges on a single possibility, that a biological switch for torpor exists within us all. Scientists are now engaged in a complex hunt for this trigger. They are meticulously mapping the genomes of hibernating animals, comparing them to non-hibernators like humans. The goal is to pinpoint the specific genes that activate hibernation. Some studies focus on hibernation induction triggers in the blood. If a specific molecule can initiate torpor, we could potentially synthesize it in a lab. While biologists search for nature's secrets, engineers and chemists are exploring synthetic torpor. This would use advanced pharmacology to safely induce hibernation. The cryopod of the future will be run by a sophisticated AI doctor, monitoring thousands of biomarkers and adjusting drug mixtures in real time. This partnership between pharmacology and AI represents a powerful vision for the future of cryosleep, moving beyond copying animal hibernation into designing optimized human stasis. There is a related technology being used in hospitals today called targeted temperature management. This gives us real-world experience with cooling and rewarming human bodies. The experience gained from TTM is invaluable for space hibernation research, teaching us about the practical challenges and best practices for safe rewarming. It is the first rung on a very long ladder that might one day lead us to the stars. The journey from today's research to a functional interstellar cryosleep system is a long one, with many critical milestones. The roadmap forward will require a coordinated, multi-decade effort. The next major phase will be controlled human trials. The first human trials would be short duration, conducted in highly controlled hospital settings. In parallel, engineering efforts must accelerate. We need breakthroughs in long-duration power sources, advanced materials, and sophisticated AI. Ultimately, what needs to change is our perspective on time. Developing this technology will require a commitment that spans generations. It requires cathedral thinking, the willingness to start building something magnificent that we may not live to see finished. It also demands international collaboration on an unprecedented scale, as the cost and complexity will be too great for any single nation or company. So where does this leave us? The sleek, effortless hypersleep pods of science fiction remain firmly in the realm of fiction for now. The barriers are not small hurdles. They are towering walls that touch upon every aspect of science and technology. The final verdict is that cryogenic sleep will not be making interstellar travel possible anytime soon. We are not decades away. We are more likely centuries away. However, it is crucial to understand that not soon does not mean not ever. The dream is deferred, not defeated. Every challenge we have outlined is, in principle, solvable with enough time, resources, and scientific ingenuity. The research being done today is laying the essential groundwork. While we may not see a cryopod in our lifetimes, we are taking the first steps on a journey our descendants might complete. The dream of reaching the stars through cryogenic sleep is more than just a technological goal. It is a profound reflection of our exploratory spirit. To get there, our focus must shift from simply dreaming about the destination to meticulously planning the journey to the journey. This means investing in fundamental science and requires a global commitment to long-term research projects that may not yield results for generations. The path forward will be built on incremental progress. Advances will come from 1,000 different directions, assembled piece by piece from solutions we create for problems closer to home. Ultimately, the quest for cryogenic sleep may teach us more about ourselves than about the stars. It forces us to confront our biological limits and ethical responsibilities. The very act of pursuing this dream could help us become a more mature and collaborative species, better prepared for whatever the future holds. Whether humans will one day step out of a sleep pod onto a planet orbiting a distant star remains an open question. The odds may be long and the timeline impossibly vast, but the pursuit of that question is, in itself, a worthy endeavor. It fires our imagination, pushes the boundaries of our knowledge, and inspires us to believe in a grander future. The dream of cryogenic sleep is a powerful beacon, illuminating a path of scientific discovery and human evolution. And by continuing to walk that path, we honor the same spirit of exploration that first led us to look up at the twinkling lights in the night sky and wonder,